Chaque semaine, découvrez le parcours d'une prof de yoga pour vous montrer l'immensité des possibilités dans le monde du yoga. Pour ne rien manquer des nouveaux épisodes à venir, n'hésitez pas à vous inscrire à ma newsletter. Hello Sharon, je suis ravie de te retrouver aujourd'hui pour ce podcast, le yoga dans nos vies, un nouvel épisode où tu vas pouvoir nous parler de ton parcours.
Hello, Axan. I'm delighted to be here. I'm so excited to talk to you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Peux-tu nous parler de ton parcours avec le yoga? Comment as-tu rencontré le yoga et que faisais-tu à l'époque?
Okay, so way back when I was 18, a freshman at university, I was a bit of a hippie, and some girls in my dorm were doing yoga for their physical education credit. So I joined in and I discovered Yogaville. It's a funny story because my first yoga teacher was Swami from the Yogaville. And that's in Virginia, where I grew up and where I went to university. And then for many years, as I moved around to different places around the world, I found yoga classes, I did my own yoga practice, I did many different kinds of yoga. And then when I settled in Paris, I discovered there were very few yoga studios in Paris back then. I discovered Michelle Jacoby at Yoga Marais. And the funny story is she's also an integral yoga teacher. So I came full circle back to the teachings of Swami Sachidananda and integral yoga. And of course, I cultivated my studies even more at Yogaville, the ashram in Virginia. So I did that teacher training right at the moment in my life where things were changing radically for me. I had spent 5 years at home with my precious miracle daughter after having gone through loads and loads of fertility treatments for 5 years before that. So she was starting to go to school and I was ready to go back to work. I didn't want to do what I did in my previous life. So that training came at just the right time for me, as these things do. And I delved into yoga studies beyond the physical, beyond the asana. And from there, I discovered that I needed to share a lot of the practices that I had learned on my training, of course, and that I had learned myself struggling through fertility. And that was when I decided to offer women's classes, yoga for fertility. So back then I was teaching integral hatha yoga and yoga for fertility. Of course, my fertility students started getting pregnant. And so I went off to do a prenatal yoga teacher training in London with Uma Dinsmore-Tuli. And she just opened up an entire new world of yoga for me. I had done other trainings with other great yoga teachers, learning various things. But then when I met Uma, everything changes. She introduced me to the wisdom goddesses, the Mahavidyas. And I began to understand yoga as a woman, yoga for women's bodies, and yoga pertaining to women. These secret voices of yoga that we didn't learn about in traditional trainings and in traditional yoga classes. And so I started studying the Mahavidyas and understanding yoni and the power of the yoni and how that power evolves in the different energies from the different wisdom goddesses. And of course, that expanded my practice even more. And I became very, very excited about sharing this with women because it just didn't seem to be out there widely. And so now I work with only women. I went on to study pelvic floor yoga with the wonderful Leslie Howard out in San Francisco, and have done many, many women's yoga trainings since then, including Uma's very intense well woman yoga therapy training, which just like blew my mind, really. I did that training a couple of years ago, and I'm still unpacking it now. There's just so much there. So that's my learning journey here right now where I am, and you see a bit of a sketch of where I've come through in my journey.
Okay, amazing.
Mhm.
It was long experiences, and you are really passionate about your yoga.
Oh, indeed,
The
yeah.
next question is, you specialize, as you said, in yoga for women, prenatal and postnatal, and you join Amanda and EFV Lab to offer your yoga prenatal and postnatal training, which I do, by the way, and it was amazing. Can you explain us how this training starts and tell us what made you decided to share it to train a new teacher?
Yeah, sure. So in teaching prenatal yoga classes and having gone to prenatal yoga myself during my pregnancy, I discovered how different my yoga classes were to other prenatal yoga classes that women were experiencing, from yoga classes that were more athletics, more physically based, which can be excellent, and then yoga classes that were way too gentle, barely moving, and women wanted more. Um, and so I think that I really wanted to share this practice that totally embodies the woman's changing body, and get more teachers out there to understand exactly what prenatal is, because there's so much misconception. Some people think that prenatal yoga is just yoga that's an adaptation to
Yes,
general vinyasa yoga, and I wanted to change that and make people more aware and understand that it's not such a great idea to do your general hatha classes during pregnancy. And by in that endeavor, it was really important to train more teachers understanding this transitional phase that's so important in women's lives.
yes. And how you make this training with Amanda and EFV Lab?
So Amanda had several years of graduates who were interested in delving in a little further and wanting to teach prenatal yoga. And so she came to me and asked me if I'd like to do a lab, a module to train prenatal yoga teachers. And I was very excited about that, and did a lot of study, creating the course and writing the manual, and just wrote it all out, condensed it, and started sharing it. And it was well received, and people started asking for postnatal training. And so we started that. Alexandra, we're in the very first group of that. So we're
Yeah.
doing prenatal and postnatal EFV lab modules, which are open to the general public as well, of course.
Okay. And I I want to say that the prenatal and postnatal yoga teacher training I did with you were amazing. So you have to go to this training. The next question is about your fertility workshops. Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, absolutely. My fertility class is phase for women who are trying to conceive, whether they're just starting out or if they're doing treatments or taking a natural approach. And it's a space for women to connect, because they're all going through a similar journey. And, I've been there, I understand, I learned a lot about how my yoga practice can help me through such a struggle. And understanding better yoga for women's bodies and the wisdom goddesses, I have a lot to share about how we can, as women, nurture ourselves through our menstrual cycles and what it means to be connected to your menstrual cycle, what's going on in your body, and getting in touch with the yoni, and working through struggles with deep relaxations, nidras, setting intentions, of course moving the body physically in ways that promote the health of the ovaries and the womb and the pelvic floor. And yeah, it's a space for women to connect. I started doing fertility yoga way back, when we didn't have as much awareness about it on the internet, and it just wasn't offered in Paris at all back then. Um, yeah, so
Yeah.
my,
It's really important, I think, to reconnect with your fertility and your yoni, as you said. And how do you make this workshop? It's a group, it's at your home. Where,
right.
how
So
do you do?
yeah, I teach a fertility yoga class on Monday nights at 7 p.m. It's been in that space for many years. So my classes are going on now both in studio and virtually at the same time. That's worked well. Women who don't want to or can't make it into my studio can still connect with us. And then I do workshops for women's wellness, fertility specific workshops as well. And it's all about getting in touch with the yoni, of course, the power and the creativity of the yoni, and harmonizing your daily life with your natural rhythms, the energies that change and flow and ebb throughout your cycle, and being aware of that so that you can live in harmony with that. Because as women, we often struggle against these natural energies, not paying attention to them because we're immersed in this masculine energy dominated world. So just coming to yoga for women, and getting introduced to that connection will boost your fertility, whether it's wanting to create a child, wanting to conceive, or whether it's putting something else out there in the world. So the ovaries are the spark of your power, physically creating a human, and creatively as well. So the workshops that I do for women, flowing with your cycles, the seasons workshops are fantastic also for fertility as well, and just boosting women's overall creativity and wellness, really.
Mm. You follow the cycle, the seasons
Yes.
for the classes. Yeah, beautiful. And where and when can we find your classes, your yoga classes, prenatal, postnatal, fertility, etc.?
So yeah, you can find my in studio and virtual classes always up online on my website, which is Sharon Bell's Yoga. So my studio is in my home, and people feel really comfortable here. We have all the amenities. You can make yourself at home here. And during this time, this very uncertain and special time, I'm keeping my home just as clean as you're keeping your home, and even extra, not as much traffic here. So we can social distance in studio, and if you want to join virtually, of course, that's always available by
Mm.
Zoom. All the links are on my website.
It's about the confinement, the COVID season. You continue to teach and you start to teach online. So now you continue to propose to your students to go in your studio to practice, or online if they prefer to stay at home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, uh, Thanks to COVID, I got my classes up online. And so I will continue that indefinitely. And in fact, I'm working right now on posting classes online so that people can access those and use them anytime if they can't
Okay.
join us live. Yeah.
Like a replay to
Yeah.
your class. Okay. It's a good idea to allows people to make your agenda, follow the yoga agenda, and can have access to the class like when they want, when
Right.
they can
Right.
in the week. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have other projects that were born thanks to the confinement?
Oh, yes. I was very, very busy during the confinement. So many things happened. I created a 6-week pelvic floor foundations course.
Wow.
Yeah, so 6 weeks on Sundays throughout the confinement. I had a lovely group of women, and we worked through areas of pelvic floor health, such as preventing and repairing prolapse, pelvic pain, strengthening the pelvic walls, not just strengthening, but making the pelvic floor healthy. And then, of course, sexual function regarding the pelvic floor as well. So that was one project that came out of it. I'm running that workshop repeatedly um,
Okay.
in cycles. That's happening. And then just around the confinement time, I had started working with Jessamy Holland, who's a sex therapist here in Paris. And we started creating workshops for women. So, with her expertise in sex therapy and my expertise with the pelvis and the pelvic floor, we created some dynamite workshops to help women discover their feminine selves, and workshops for women to explore their sexuality and their femininity, demystifying women's sexuality and removing it from all of the input that we get from society, women as objects. So yeah, lots of women's work
Yeah.
going on.
And other projects like this?
Yeah, well, those two, the pelvic floor and the female empowerment, the sexuality workshops. And then my hypnobirthing went online as well. And couples discovered that they really like doing hypnobirthing virtually. I was teaching
Oh,
couples who were lying in bed doing hypnobirthing with me virtually. And that was great because that's exactly where the women will be when they labor at home. So that's another offering. Lots of things are going up online.
oh,
Um,
amazing. We
yeah,
can do everything online
right, right.
and try to keep the best way from the digital to
Yeah,
put yoga on it.
yeah, exactly.
And for the start of the September and the school year, um, what do you want to do more? Have you got other ideas for yoga and for your life?
Yes, yes. So I was running a Wild Feminine book club. Wild Feminine is a book by Tammy Lynn Kent that's also one of my Bibles in my practice and my teaching in my life. And we did 8 weeks exploring that 8 chapter book together. It was just a
Oh,
little book club, and it was a really great group of women ranging from mid 20s, someone just had babies, and then all the way to a woman who was postmenopausal. And so it was a great variety of women. And I did a lot of thinking and a lot of working through that. And I have I'm working on a course now, Empowering Your Feminine Journey, which will take the teachings from Tammy Lynn Kent, my experience with those teachings, and my experience learning from other wise teachers like Uma Dinsmore-Tuli and Francoise Friedman. So yeah, that course is coming up, Empowering Your Feminine Journey. So exploring the Mahavidyas, the yoga, and how you can incorporate that into your daily life as a woman of any age, anywhere on your feminine journey. So that's coming up.
Yes, a beautiful project. Other projects for the year?
That has been keeping me quite busy.
Yes.
Oh, that and mothering my teenage daughter. Yeah, it's a journey.
Oh, yeah. Perfect. Do you have something to add to finish, a message or something like this?
Yeah, I just want to spread the yoni love, and I would love for women to discover women's yoga and become more in touch with their inner wisdom, their intuition, their feminine intuition, and the power of the yoni, and take that power back as it's been in so many ways robbed from us as women. So yeah, my main message and my teaching and in life that I try to practice is listen to your feminine intuition.
Oh, yeah, perfect. I keep this message from my classes um, too, and I think it's really important to follow the intuition. Thank you so much, Sharon, for this episode and for sharing your experiences here. Sorry for my bad English, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Alexandre. It was such a pleasure talking to you. I'm really grateful to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, so.
Si vous avez aimé cet épisode et que vous voulez soutenir le podcast Le Yoga dans nos vies, n'hésitez pas à laisser une petite étoile ou un petit commentaire sur Apple Podcast ou à m'envoyer un petit message privé, ça me fera très très plaisir. À très vite.